I've been feeling inspired. Maybe also watching a bit too much internet. Let's talk philosophy. First, I wanted to talk about the pills, the black pill, red pill, blue pill. I noticed how they were similar to the three wise men tasting, the three vinegar testers in ancient Chinese philosophy: Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. Buddhism, the black pill, which is like nihilism, like it's giving up, it's so over. Same with Buddhism, about dukkha, suffering, how it's inescapable, samsara, which is the wheel of reincarnation. Taoism, which is about the beauty, the joy of nature, of how wonderful life is, how precious it is. And Confucianism, which is about order, civility, hierarchy, about maintaining social cohesion and harmony. So it's really interesting to see how Buddhism, right, which is like that bitterness, the bitterness of life, right, the suffering, the how cruel life can be. Taoism, which is the sweetness, the loveliness, how harmonious everything is. And Confucianism, which is the sourness, right, how much order there needs to be in this world, how much piety there should be in this world. There's also the midwit meme, which is the same. It's basically the same analogy as like enlightenment. So before enlightenment, mountains are mountains, rivers are rivers. During enlightenment, mountains aren't mountains, rivers aren't rivers. After enlightenment, mountains are mountains, rivers are rivers. So there's an old saying, enlightenment is halfway there, right? It's reaching only the peak of the mountain. After or before enlightenment, carry wood, carry water, chop wood. After enlightenment, carry water, chop wood. So it's really interesting to see that in the parallels between the meme and the philosophy. Of course, it's over. We're back. This is the same. This is like the meme version of the yin and yang. I really wanted to talk about this stuff because it's so interesting how people have come across the same ideas over and over, but just expressed it in different ways, like in their own way, in their own context. But there seems to be a sort of universal pattern of being human. Like anthills are anthills, trees are trees, clouds are clouds. There's a universal way of being human. For example, I kind of wanted to talk about birth and death, right? Life is the C between B and D. When we are born, that's kind of like separation, right? We get separated from the womb, from the world, from the sea of consciousness, and we become an individual, right? An alienated, isolated, an island unto ourselves. And then we have all these potential paths, right? But we can only make one choice, right? In fact, there really is no choice. Death is the ultimate unifier, right? Death is actually the unity of everything. To be united with the world is to die, right? It's to die to your own self, right? Because you become everything. So in a way, right, when we make a choice, we have to die in these other paths so that one may live. Every single other path has to die so that only one path may live. That's what making a choice means, right? This is why in order to truly live, you have to die before you die, so that when you die, you can truly die. It's dying to yourself, your identity, everything that you thought you believed in, everything you knew. This is what is also called the dark night of the soul, right? To die, to have an ego death, and the rebirth and reincarnation, the hero's journey. The hero's journey is this too. The hero's journey is the yin and yang. It's over, we're back, it's so over, we are so back. That is the hero's journey as well. Love is like the expansive force of the universe, right? To love is to merge, to become one with another. Love dissolves the boundaries between people, between objects, between ideas. Love is what dissolves the boundaries, the separation. So the practice of love is really to, if you, for example, love, like I love my mom, I love my family, my brother and my dad. I love my friends. I love my pet goldfish. I love food, right? And that practice of love is what cultivates greater love, right? Because love is ever expansive, right? Loving, so it's like loving, if you start out with loving yourself, then loving your neighbor, or loving your family, loving your friends, loving your neighbors, loving the world, or loving all of creation, loving the earth and living beings, right? Love is the ever expansive quality. The more you love, the more you practice love, the more your love expands. This is the opposite of desire, right? Desire is the feeling of separation, right? So you have something and you want it. You want it because you don't have it. Otherwise you wouldn't want it. Right? It's like being hungry, right? If you're hungry, it's because you haven't had food, right? But if you're full, you're not going to desire food because you have it, right? You're full. But this, it's like you pull something else, right? You pull the object in, right? That's why you can never satisfy a desire, because the moment you have it, you've lost it, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Because the whole point of that is the separation, right? How you feel separate from what you want and what you have, right? You get exactly what you are. The world is basically like a mirror to yourself, and you are basically a mirror to the world. Desire is like an ever compressing force, right? It's like a black hole. It sucks everything in. Love is like the opposite. It's ever expansive, right? It expands. Basically, these are kind of the two fundamental human forces. Right? If we think of like gravity versus like dark energy, right? This is dark energy basically, and this is gravity basically, right? So also I kind of wanted to talk about planning and change. You have to begin with the end in mind. So you have to first start out with this direction you're heading in. If you don't have an end goal, you have no way to start. There's no way to start if you don't have an end, right? There's no way to start. But of course, it's hard to draw an end because in a way, an end is death, right? Death is the great end, right? It's a great equalizer, right? So in a way, making an end goal is actually kind of like, in a way, making a small death, right? A small sacrifice. But you have to do this in order to chart a course, right? That's why there's always going to be, this is like the actual path, right? There's always going to be course correction to actually get where you are. But you're never going to get where you want to go if you don't have a goal in mind, right? You're never going to get there because you don't know the path to begin with. That's why, plans are nothing, but planning is everything. But this is also the same with like growing too. Like you are exactly where you are because of the mindset you had until now. Exactly where you are. In order to change, you have to do whatever served you before might not serve you later on, right? So to get from a seed, right, like let's say an acorn to a sapling, an acorn has to break out of its seed, right, to grow, to become a sapling, right? But then once you are a sapling, to become a tree, an oak tree, you have to root You have to branch out, right? You have to do something different on top of it, right? So every time you go up a level, you have to do something different, right? Whatever served you before might not serve you later on. And that's the whole process of growing, right? This is analogous to human growth as well. So finally, I wanted to talk about water. Basically, our mind is homeostasis, right? Entropy is the great equanimous force. So what a lot of people do is, there's movement in the water, right? Which is like our emotions. We want to stop our emotions, right? Like there's water moving, so we want to stop it manually, right? But the more we try to stop it, or the more we try to force it or suppress it, the more we agitate it. But if we just let it settle, right? If you're able to sit with it, right? And if you're not able to sit with it, at least being able to accept that you can't accept it, it naturally dissipates, right? Just like if you have a cut on your body. I have like a mosquito bite here. If you have a mosquito bite, it naturally heals, right? It's the same with the mind, right? The mind can naturally heals on its own, but it needs time, right? And if we use like social media, right, or like a lot of the attention or whatever, dopamine, right, we're not able to get the time our mind needs to heal. And that's why, really, for me at least, the best way to like heal the mind and my heart is sitting quietly and just sitting with my emotions. And if I can't sit with it, right, if I feel agitated, just walking outside and just metabolizing it, processing it, because the mind naturally heals, right? Because the world is entropy, and entropy is the great equanimous force, right? Everything reaches equanimity.